Welcome to the golf locker room. Welcome to the golf locker room. We up in here. Let's get some air horns. What up, Trish?
What up, fam? What up, fam? How y'all doing?
Ah, we all right. We good. We good. We good. What up, Big Sif?
What's good with you, bro? Young lady, hope all is well around the globe.
Oh yeah,
All is well.
everything is good. Everything is good. Let's get right into it. Um, the big cat may play the Masters.
Yes,
Mm.
sir. Yes, sir. I put a little poll out. I put a poll out on the BGA just to see, hearts if they think he's gonna play. Thumbs up if they think he's gonna wait it out. And last time I looked, it was like at 50-50. So, we'll see.
Yeah.
Everybody's worried about his health.
Yeah. He'll worry about it better than we will. So whatever he decides, I'm sure it's going to be for the best. I'm sure he's just happy to even be able to consider doing it. Them hills is
Yeah.
tough though. St. Andrews is flat. Uh, So we'll see. I know if he does play, he's a lot more healthier than we thought. Because that's a tough track to walk. That's a tough track to
Yeah.
walk. All right, moving
You know that's
along.
Tiger's MO.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you know that's Tiger's MO, man. He's not gonna let you know how serious it is, or he's not gonna let you know how not serious it is. So that's part of marketing, man. I big ups to
Yeah.
him on that.
I like
Well,
it.
you
I
got
like
to.
it. You don't know the Tiger's on the prowl. You don't know. You don't know when he's gonna pounce. Hopefully he'll pounce at the Masters.
Yeah, well, you got to,
Exactly.
low expectations if you're smart. You want to give
Oh, you
yourself
think
low
so?
expectations.
You
You
think?
have to. You can't go out on TV and say, "Oh, I feel fantastic," and then not play, and then everybody's going to speculate, "Well, you said you feel fantastic. How can you?" You got to be like, "Well, maybe we just going to go day by day." That's classic PR
I love it. I love
101.
it.
Yeah. Hey, Manny. Hey, Trish.
Yeah.
Before we dive deep into our guests and all the stuff that we've got going on, what about them Tar Heels, man, and them Blue Devils? Final four,
Boy.
man.
Yeah,
First,
Final
I
Four.
mean, I know this is a golf piece, but the first time that Carolina and Duke meets in the Final Four, two teams from
That's
North
true.
Carolina, that lets you guys know how strong the Carolinas are. I just want to put that out there.
Oh, that's what that means. Okay, okay.
Yeah. But they have a legacy of being strong. I know you guys are very excited about that. So
Who
we're
you
gonna let
got?
you
Who
have
you
it.
got, Sif? Who you got, Sif?
I'm going with the Tar Heels. I got a lot of Duke friends, but I got to roll with the Tar Heels.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. All right. Well, ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing's wrong with
Congratulations,
that at all.
Carolinas. Let's see what they do.
Yeah, they're gonna be fine. They're gonna be fine. All right, we're moving along. Amari Avery, the amateur
Yes.
women at Augusta. She's +1, ninth place, tied
Mm.
for ninth place. We got a real one. We got a
Oh,
real one, y'all. We got a killer out there.
Got to kill him, man.
Just started
well,
SC, won her first tournament at SC. We got a real killer. And then a younger sister won the MAC. We got killers
We got
from
killers.
Riverside, CA, from my neck of the woods, from
Okay.
SoCal. From
yeah, I know.
SoCal, my friend.
I done claim them young ladies as my cousins. We run the same thing. We got that Philippine black thing going on right now. So
Yeah, that's
them my
good.
little,
That's
them,
good.
them my little baby cousins. They don't even know it.
I know
That's
that's
right.
right.
That's right. Well, at least we got some killers. So go ahead. Congratulations. Win, lose, or draw. You in the game. That's what we want. We
Yes,
want people in the game.
they
And
are doing amazing.
so far, they in the game and they're doing all the right things and competing and winning in the right tournaments. The
Right.
highest level. The highest level. She gonna get some good ranking points. She keep doing what she's doing this year, even though it's just her freshman year. She's a monster. She's a monster.
Hey,
All
and
right.
nobody's talking about degree of difficulty, man. I mean,
Oh
Oh yeah.
my
the stage.
goodness.
I mean, it is. That's one of the reasons why I said what I said on last week was, hey, if you want to be top tier, you got to play top tier golf and play the courses that everyone else is playing.
Period.
Period.
You think they
Oh,
slowed them? Do you think they slowed them greens down because they
No,
playing? Hell nah. They playing
mm-mm.
12s. They playing
Nah,
maybe 13. When they move over to Augusta for the final day, they gonna be on them 13s where the wind gonna move the ball. So shout out top
yes.
level elite amateur golf. Can't
Let's
be
not
mad
forget
at that.
about the Howard team now, the Howard ladies team.
Okay,
So
well,
you know they
put,
yeah they compete they
put us up
competed in
on it.
their no, so they competed in their first spring tournament,
Okay.
first one since October. And so it was supposed to be a 2 day event. Obviously, they had some really bad weather, so they played on that Saturday, didn't play on that Sunday, but they placed first place out of 11 teams. And our Kendall
All
Jackson,
right.
she won first place out of
Good.
56. And the only
Hey,
Good.
one
come
that shot under par. She was the only
Good.
one
Let's
that
get
shot
that
under
up.
par.
on,
So
man.
big
Come
up.
Yeah.
on. Come
Exactly. Yeah. That's
Love it.
what that.
Love
Well,
it.
that's what we have to build. Killers.
killers,
Yes.
man.
Par or
Yes.
under par if you can. That's the only way. If we want to
Beast
see them
mode.
on the big stage, it's the only way. It's the
Yeah.
only way. And we know it's hard. We know the journey is hard, but I'm telling you, our women, they gonna be the first. Don't I'm just gonna put it out there. You want to see some minorities on tour? We got HV3 and Cam, thank God. But
Yeah.
this new batch,
Oh yeah,
it's
killers,
gonna be the women. Watch,
killers.
mark my words, and I'm gonna be applauding and spectating the whole way. Let's get them
Oh,
all
yeah.
some heads up and some head air horns. All right, we're gonna move right along. Will Smith. Yeah, I got to put that in there.
Okay.
Will
Mm,
Smith.
you know where I
All right, I'm gonna
stand.
put it like this: we are a golf show, but we're a human show, and we're gonna talk about stuff that goes on in our community. What I will say is, I love them both. Everyone's human. We gonna make sure we support them both. And Will Smith was dead ass wrong, and he apologized, and he still got some penance to pay. But
Mm,
that's all right. That's just my opinion. He's dead ass wrong. That's that. He was dead wrong. What you say,
yeah.
Sip? Or Trish?
I
You
can't.
got it, sis.
And to be honest with you, man, I told myself the other day, once I made my final statement on it, that I was done with it because I came under heavy attack. Um, uh, because of my opinion. Opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has one. I'm not mad at
Everyone.
anyone else
It's just
because
an opinion. It's
it's
just
an
what? Who
opinion.
are we? We just have
Right.
an opinion. We're just
Yeah.
opining.
So I think for those who follow me on social media know where I stand. So I'm not gonna say any more about it.
Okay. Okay. Trish, the female in the room.
Whew, so here's my thing. I think this is what I feel. I feel like we look bad. We just had the one Howard, slapping some
All right.
folks.
We
Now
didn't
we got
feel it.
Will.
We look bad.
Yeah,
All right. I'm gonna
yeah,
stop.
Will
We look
Smith. He
bad.
around here slapping some folks on a platform where it's a black tie event. And again, the incident that happened took away from some really great awards being given out.
Will
And
Packer producing.
yeah,
Samuel
yeah.
Jackson finally getting one after 40 years of great work.
See,
Questlove,
Questlove.
I don't remember
Questlove.
any of that. I don't remember any of that. So
Well,
that's what I'm
it wasn't
saying.
shown. It wasn't
I
shown.
know. Yeah,
That was the nightmare because
yeah.
actually Chris Rock was up there to present for Questlove, and the reason
Mm-hmm.
Denzel was there consoling and trying to be the peacemaker and the adult in the room was because he was presenting for Samuel L. Jackson. So
Mm.
all that was everybody there was there for a reason. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
they always have seat fillers and stuff, and people sit just to fill the seats to look pretty. But the stars you seen there was for a specific purpose. And
Well,
but we gonna celebrate it all.
no.
Uh
But from a lady's perspective, though, Manny, I honestly think if you weren't going to slap August, you shouldn't have slapped Rock.
See,
That's just
I'm
my
not even gonna touch that.
that's just my final
I
opinion.
mean,
You know what
I got
I'm
opinions on that, but I'm not gonna touch that personal stuff. I just know we need healing. I just know not like we need healing. I'm gonna say people that's going through some toxicity,
Mm-hmm.
reach out, reach out. I think it just shocked the world so much because we know he's been doing pretty good work and being a pretty good stalwart of morals and discipline, and it just shocked us all. That basically, and everyone can crack. Everyone
Yeah.
can crack. I mean, he's
Everybody
given
can
us
break the
30
code.
years of
Yeah,
trying to do the right thing. No one's perfect. He's given us 30 years of trying to do the right thing, and we're not
that's
going to throw
true.
that. At least I'm not going to throw that away for one bad guy. Plus, Sif know this. We got to keep it 100. Sometimes men are crazy. Sometimes we do some craziness and be like, we tripped. We tripped. Sometimes we'll just do some crazy stuff. No excuse not to shift it under the rug, but expect at least 2 crazy events from your husband. Expect 2. Hopefully not
Oh,
3.
hey, but I will say this though. I'm a Will Smith fan. Like Manny said, you can't take away the things that he's done over the past 30 years. But you smack me on national TV, we moving some serious furniture.
Yeah. I got a bad temper.
Yeah.
Ain't no way. I got a bad. Thank God. And that. Let's close this segment out with giving a hand and an air horn to the most professional, disciplined man in the room that night, Chris Rock.
Yeah, facts.
Keeping the show moving,
Facts.
not being selfish. He was there because he was going to leave anyway. He said he was there just to present for Questlove and move on. He wasn't going to stay for the same thing. And I'm sure in his head he was like, "This is too big. We was just picketing. We was just
Yeah,
boycotting, and now we got." All Oscars produced by Black folks. We got several winners in several categories. And I'm not going to be selfish enough to ruin that for everyone. So shout out to him. And we're gonna make it right. We always do. It takes a village, and we seen a piece of that village there with Tyler Perry and Denzel giving them a good talk. So we're gonna be just fine. I
yeah.
don't want to see it on the red table though. That's just my opinion. I think that's how we got here. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Let's go. All right. Anything else in the news? Our golf in our golf world.
No,
Nope. Y'all good?
that's
All
me.
right. Let's get to the
That's me.
show.
I just guess.
So
Yeah.
let's get to the show. Okay, Trish, we've been putting out promos, we've been putting out a lot of feelers, and we let's shout out to Jada for keeping her composure while suffering from hair loss and severe depression. We can give her a shout out for that. We can give her a shout out for that. Yeah, definitely. But she wasn't in the show. She was there to support her husband, but she wasn't part of the show. But we'll give her a shout out. We'll give her a shout
Yeah.
out. Yeah, let's give
Hey,
her. Yeah, let me come on. I stay. I
like
stay. I
like your
mean,
Tampa said,
I
I got a
stay.
hold. I got a hold in my natural too.
Yeah. But we've been putting out feelers and we've been putting out little tidbits, and you've been doing a great job with the stories on Facebook, educating our golf community on the history of the people who laid down bricks. So we're stepping on those bricks now. And the question was, who's Rose Harper? And
Yes.
we here today because of that. Thank God, thanks God, we are able to give flowers when we can, and that's what we do. We just give flowers. We don't like gossip. We don't like conjecture. We like to give flowers to legends. So, Trish, I'm going to let you introduce and get us started. Let's go.
All right. So as Manny was saying, we've been doing the women's in history, little tidbits out there. Just, we want to put out there these great women that's been doing great, amazing things. So we have Miss Rose Harper coming on. So we say, who is Rose Harper? And I'm gonna just give a little tidbit, then we're gonna bring her on in so she can tell us who is the Rose Harper. So she was the mastermind that advocated for the talented late Lee Elder, and through her advocacy, helped Elder in breaking the color barriers at the Masters and in South Africa. She also helped others to diversify the game of golf. So Rose Harper is many and many things, and we're going to learn many of those things this evening. So she was an entrepreneur. She was a subject matter expert in the business of the golf industry and a passionate golfer. She is the author of the book, The Art of the Deal, Golf Access to Success. Harper founded the Grass Ceiling Incorporated in 1995 as a business empowerment firm that specializes in using the game of golf as a platform to help level the playing field for women and minorities with their counterparts in the business and academic worlds. I can go on, but there's no need to because we have her here. She's coming on, and we're going to learn even more about Miss Rose Harper.
All right. Welcome, welcome. Mrs. Harper is here. We are blessed and we are thankful. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you
Well,
so much. This
thank you.
is, I'm really privileged and honored to be uh, your guest, and thank you so much for sharing your space with me today, particularly during Women's History Month. That's very
Mhm.
special for
Yes.
me. I've been so moved and uh, proud of the nominations of the ultimate confirmation of our Supreme Court Justice.
Mm,
Uh, that
That's
is just too much, Katanji Brown, and the moving comments by our Senator Cory Booker. I know you all in the media and you heard him, but when he made the comment that when they said Sabrina Williams couldn't slam and uh, Beyonce couldn't sing and Mae Jameson couldn't go high, he said, "We all know that that is not true."
mm,
So it resonated with me because there's so many things over the years that I've heard people say about me, who I am, and all. That's just not true.
mhm.
So the opportunity that you all have been so graciously um, allowing me to come into your space is it's sort of special. It gives me a chance to talk about my walk, which I appreciate.
Yes.
Um, and at the top of your show, um, it brought back memories. You talked about Amari, the young woman that is competing this week. The same man that introduced me to Venus and Serena Williams when they were 9 and 13 years old. I sponsored them for 5 years in my event. Leland Hardy is the man that introduced me to those young ladies. He called me from Compton when he was in Compton and they were on a playground, and he said, "Rose, you have got to invite these young ladies to come and play in your tennis component of your tournament." I said, "Leland, I don't have another ticket." He said, "Take mine and my wife's. You'll never regret it." So Leland Hardy is the same man that is out here with this young lady, Amari.
Oh,
He
oh,
wow.
discovered
wow.
her and he's phenomenal. So I was really excited. He texted me early this morning to tell me, "Oh, you got a picture.
Uh-huh.
There they are when they were 9 and 13. There's Williams, there's Richard, there's the mother, there's Bill Russell, and that's little me kneeling on the ground."
Oh, let's
Wow.
give
So
that up.
yeah, we have our we pictures tell the story. So I'm glad about that. Just pick it up and hang it down.
That's a
Yeah.
gorgeous picture.
So
Rugged
I'm
It
kid.
is.
happy about that. But I'm pulling for this young lady, and I'm sure that she is going to do well. People don't understand how difficult it is for young people in these positions, but she's going to do well. So again, I thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to just share my walk with you, and
Mhm.
it will give me an opportunity, I would imagine, to talk about a few things, if that's okay with you guys.
Oh,
Please.
absolutely.
And you can stop
Absolutely.
me at any point and ask any questions for Charlie Sifford's. You're Charlie's nephew, right?
Correct.
I call him Horse. Everybody else calls him Charlie. I call him Horse. He and I have a
Wonderful.
very, very close relationship. I loved him dearly. We have a lot of secrets that we share that I dare not share with anybody else. I also knew Rose very well. His wife's name was Rose, and I knew I knew a lot about him. He was a great man. People didn't understand him a lot. He had a lot of names given to him which were unjust, only because he stood up for himself and he spoke up
Mm,
for himself. So I relate to that very much because I don't back down. I speak up. And if you're stepping on my turf, I'm going to let you know. And if you're doing something that I think is unjust to anybody,
mm,
that's just who I am. That's the way I was raised. That's the way my mother and father brought me up, is to be open and honest and treat everybody the way I want them to treat me.
Love it.
Um, so I sort of live that way now. And if you cross the line, I just move on. And
mm,
I've grown a lot. I've grown an awful lot. I have been very, very blessed in my walk. I have, as you all know, I was on the PGA Tour for more than 26 years, managing not just my ex, but 7 golfers. And I
oh
can
wow.
relate to all of these golfers. I always remind people of my quiet, soft friend, Pete Brown, because Pete Brown was the first Black to ever win a PGA tournament in Waco, Texas tournament in
Mm.
Waco, Texas. And a lot of people don't know what our history is. And Charlie Sifford also won a tournament before Lee Elder won. But uh, there was a coach, I forgot his name. What's his name, Trish? We talked about him. He's a basketball coach. He said we play the games, they make the rules. We win the games, they
Doc
change the
Rivers.
rules.
That was Doc
Yeah,
Rivers.
Doc Rivers.
Yes.
So I'm gonna print that somewhere, and so I won't keep forgetting it. But that is still true today,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what's happening today. And those of you who follow um my industry, I know you all follow it closely. Um, the thing that is troubling to me today in 2022 is that the PGA and the LPGA seems to be the only industry that has not made serious inroads of
Mm,
inclusivity. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm troubled about that. They still, I've been blackballed for 20 years, so it doesn't make any difference to me at this point because, they can't take my house. My brother gonna make sure they don't do that. But,
that's right.
and so I speak up about what's true. I know who they are. They pick their people and they keep them there. They keep the people that are going to say what they want them to say and do what they want them to do. And I'm talking about people of color. And
Mm-hmm.
that's unfortunate in this day and time. So I'm very troubled about that, and they know it, which is the reason that I'm not included in anything that they do, even though one of their largest programs, the uh, what do they call it now, the Minority Golf Championship or whatever they're calling it. Um, I was one of the founders of that program.
Mm,
Myself, myself, Burl Boynes, who was the coach at Hampton, he was coaching basketball and baseball and golf. I
Mm-hmm.
started the first golf program at Hampton University. And the thing that bothers me so much is that we were doing this tournament in Cleveland, Ohio for years.
Mm-hmm.
And the PGA recognized that, oh, man, we got a lot of Black golfers, these young Black men and women up here playing. It was very popular. So they approached the group and said, we'd like to bring the tournament to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to there were four, they were all corporate men. One of the guys, I don't remember their names, but I know what they look like. One of them was with Xerox and whoever, and they thought they knew. I said, hey guys, you don't know about this game. I said, first, before they even approached that, they were giving the HBCU guys a sleeve of golf balls. We're there for a week. and they're giving them a sleeve of golf balls. And I said, no, no, you got to give them a dozen of golf balls. And they said, oh, no, this is all that we do. And so I called them out and said, well, at this tournament where they were all white boys, you gave them a dozen.
Mm.
So I went around and collected those sleeves of golf balls. And of course, the black guys up there got mad at me to say, well, at least. I said, no, we don't take at least. We take
Mm.
Mhm.
comparable, the same. If you're
Mm.
going to give it to the other guys, you're going to give it to my guys.
Yeah.
And so then the black guys up there, these old guys, they sort of got mad at me, and the comment, they said, well, Nancy Reagan got her drugs and Rose got her golf. I said, you're right. That's exactly right. But guess what? Titleist came up with a dozen golf balls for all of
Mm.
That's
those
right.
guys.
Let's get that
And
up.
we have to make sure, but the tragedy of what happened with that event, that tournament, which is
Now the PGA Works Collegiate Championship.
they've
Exactly.
changed the name. How many times, Tricia, have they changed the name? 3 times?
Yeah,
Now it's the
several.
PGA Works.
Yeah.
Well, it was the Black Golf College Championship, which was very
Mhm.
definitive of who we
Mhm.
were,
Mhm.
because our players could not play. Our black golfers could not play on the golf teams and compete at other places, particularly Texas. And I was at Fort Worth once, and one of the young men that was in my program, uh, they wouldn't let him practice. He couldn't go
Mm.
to to the tournament and go to the golf course and practice. But he was the best they had on the team. But we we allow these things to happen. I wasn't involved with them at that. Wasn't involved with the team in Texas, but I told him to come home, and he did. He
Mhm.
left and came home. You should never compromise your principles. But what happened with this championship that I was one of the founders of? We started this in the dentist office. I can't think of his name, and I'm allowed to forget. I'm a senior, you guys know, so I
That's
can't
all
think of
right.
the doctor's name. But he was a dentist in Cleveland.
Mhm.
We were in his office. It was myself, it was Burl Bowens, and it was the doctor and one other person. I can't think of that person's name, but it was 3 guys and myself.
Mhm.
We organized that event. We structured the prizes that they were going to get. And then when they said they wanted, PGA wanted it, I said, well, they can bring the money, but you never sell your property. This is your product. You own it. So
Mhm.
they can take it to Florida, but it should remain the Black College Golf Championship.
Mhm.
Well, they wrote me up and talked about me terribly in every magazine. Black folks talked about me worse than others. Eddie, what is Eddie Payton down there in Nashville? I said, Eddie, you guys, they said he was a part of it. He wasn't even there. So when they gave the plaque out, his name's on the plaque, Bill Dickey's name's on the plaque. I said, hey, wait a minute.
Mhm.
These are the people that they approve of. They approved of Bill Dickey, and I don't talk about the dead, but I knew Bill Dickey well. But when you say what they want you to say, they'll put your name anywhere.
Mhm.
And so what has happened, what'd you say the name of it was, Trish? You can tell how much I follow it. I don't remember. I mean, it's, to me, they have white white girls, white boys, black young men and black young women playing in this event, who are
Mhm.
supposed to be the minority. And
PGA Works Collegiate. Yeah.
yeah, and when they called me to speak, their second one that they had in Florida, when I
Mhm.
went, and I played with these young people. I played with a young white woman, um, and I said, "How did you get in this program? You're not a minority." After I finished
Mhm.
talking to her, her father was very wealthy, big contractor, and I said, "You don't belong in this program.
Mhm.
You're not underprivileged. You're not you." So they just put anybody in the program that they want in the program now, and that's my problem with that. And
Mm.
when I speak to them about it, they tell me that I don't know, but I know the history, so they can do what they want to do. The history is the history, and
Mhm.
how we treat people is very important. and young people in this industry need to really understand. And I'm not going to dwell on that too much. I just know that we have a long way to go and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of work to do with
Yeah.
the industry. You know, when you look at Black women in the NFL and the NBA officiating and doing all these
Beautiful.
things, commentating, we
Beautiful.
don't. Maybe you all do because I don't follow this stuff that closely. I don't know one person of color that is out there on that PGA tour officiating on nothing. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to read the rules book, and that's what those guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, my concern is, where are you making a difference? You
Mm,
don't even have people out there that young people could say, "Oh, I could do that."
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I did
Yeah.
with my program for 30 years. I introduced young people to the business of the game because
mm,
only we all know only a very small percentage of these young people are going to become professional golfers because they don't start early enough. They don't have the financial support. They don't have the training, the proper training. So if you have a game that you love, whatever that game is, there are 126 jobs behind the scenes that you
mm,
can stay with that industry that you love. And you can play golf and you
Mm-hmm.
can play tennis and you can play baseball and basketball because everybody needs a statistician.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's just one thing. You all know that I managed professionals. So in order to negotiate contracts, you have to know the stats. You can't just go up and say, oh, well, he's got good TV ratings and people like him. No, you got to say, how many wins did they have? How many fairways did they hit? How many greens did they hit? Where did they finish on the money list? How
Mm-hmm.
many times were they in the finals in the last rounds on TV? How many times they see that hat? So statisticians, like I said, there's 126 jobs. I won't go through them, but I mean that a statistician and an agronomist, very important jobs. I took when I was fortunate enough to be asked by the Interior Department here in Washington D.C. to manage one of our historic golf courses, Langston Golf Course.
Mm-hmm.
When I did that, I had already been going to the PGA Merchandise Show for about a number of years. They have educational programs there. I signed up for the class on agronomy. And when I walked in, it was all white guys. And I walked in and they said, "Oh, can we help you?" Typical of what they say all the time. And I said, "Is this room number so and so?" Yes. I said, "Is this the class 101 or whatever it was on agronomy?" They said, "Yes, but I think you might be in the wrong place."
Mm.
I said, "I think I'm in the right place." And I
Yeah.
sat down. So I prepared myself for the job that I had accepted because it was important to me. Before I even went to the PGA School of Agronomy, I already had the University of Maryland, because I live in the district, to do soil testing. So I knew a little bit about what I was going to do. So my job was to educate and expose our young people to the business of the game, so that you could do what you love. You can do
mm,
what you love and
Now,
have a good job.
okay. Rose, now in
So, mhm.
1988, you said, you went to, you served as an official U.S. delegate to serve at the Seoul Olympic Games. So, and that was, twofold, I imagine, right? And it was, to study the
Yeah.
behind the scenes business of conducting the largest sporting event in the world. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that was one of the highlights of my career. Um,
wow.
I was fortunate enough to take a delegation of 10 Black students to the 1988 Seoul Olympics, and I was the first African American to be a delegate at the Olympics.
Wow.
I started with our U.S. Olympic team, U.S. Olympic Committee. You know, we wrote to them and we said we'd like to, we want to study the largest sporting event in the world, and I'd like to take my students from my institute so that they could see behind the scenes of the Olympics what the jobs are. And they told me I couldn't do that um, because I had to do this and I had to do that. That's not what they do. And I said, well, we have the best athletes in the world. I don't need to bring my kids over there so that they can see the athletes perform because they can see that here. So then they gave me another excuse, and I'm blessed when I say I've been to 6 continents more times than I can count. Well, Korea was one of those places that I had already been. So I
Mm.
just, back in those days, we had fax machines. So I just faxed the Olympic Committee, told them who I was. We had an institute, we had these young people who were interested in learning more about the Olympics. And they said, send us your program. I sent them my profile. They sent back, they said, this program has more merit than any program that we have. You
Mm.
don't need the United States Olympic Committee. We are SLUC, the Seoul Organizing Olympic Committee. We invite you as our guest. They
Mm.
said, all you have to do is get here. Now, this was 30 days before the Olympics. So I said, oh my God. All we had to do was get the plane tickets. But to get 10 plane tickets to go to Korea, you know, that's not chump change, right? So
Yeah.
I raised $30,000 in 30 days and off we went. And the rest is history. So, you know, that's something that these young people, I mean, I had a young man who was at UDC who was my camera crew. I paid for the man at NBC. He was the cameraman on the street. You all know the cameraman on the street. And I said, look, Harry, I need you to go to help my students. And he did. We went, they met everybody. When we went during that time, we were also lobbying for the PGA to become part of the Olympics. So guess what? Today, who do you all see? The PGA over there, but nobody knows that we were part of that.
Mm.
Also,
Didn't
when
know
we were
that.
there, well, you know, it's a lot. What happened with our program? My program is now being taught and has been for the last 20 years at George Washington University. There was a
Mm.
young woman there. She had just graduated from George Washington. Her name is Lisa Delpy. She's now Dr. Lisa Delpy. She had a camera. She was following us around every day. And I stopped her. I said, what are you doing? Young white woman. And I said, stop following my kids. Well, Lisa Delpy came back to the US and plagiarized my program. They've been teaching it at George Washington University for 20 years, making mega bucks. She has
Mm.
been
Mm.
to every Olympic since that time off of our program and never
Wow.
given us one credit to say that this is where she learned about this. This is how she started it. In fact, when she came back, she reached out to me and said, Rose, would you open my class, teach my class? She's just graduating. And they gave her a job. And I said, okay. I opened this woman's class at George Washington. I taught the first class in Kinesio for
Mm.
her. And,
Wow.
you know, I don't join any of these organizations now. They got this women in sports and all of this, but they pick and choose what they want the women of color to do and
Mm.
where they want us to be. And I refuse to take that kind of uh, of
Marching orders.
selective
Hmm.
inclusion, if you will, from them. But George Washington University makes so much money off of that program, and I have tried to get our HBCUs. So maybe this platform that you all have so graciously invited me to participate with you on Black History Month. And maybe the HBCUs might want to pay a little attention to what they could and should be doing with our young students because they don't know. They just don't know. People think that the Olympics is, they think a concession is about selling the food or hot dogs or something. A concession is about who builds the stadiums, who manufactures the seats, who manufactures the lights. This is what we're talking about. And, I guess that my voice is not what they want to hear. So I don't get often invited to the platforms to educate a young person to say, no, a concession is not about who's selling food. However, the food concession, if you all know about the Olympics, the food concession at the Olympics is handled by a company out of Philadelphia during that time, and they had been doing it for 10 years.
Mm.
So I learned a lot about the global part of the business, and I learned a little more. I'm still learning, still have a lot to learn,
Mm-hmm.
still have things that I want to do. But I was very fortunate that you all know when Gary Player was here, he was having a lot of problems several years back, being picketed because of apartheid. So Mark McCormick, not Gary Player, unlike what Gary is saying and what people print, Mark McCormick, his manager agent, IMG, came to me and said, Rose, could you bring some of your Black players to South Africa to play in the South African PGA?
Mm.
And I said, yeah, I'll talk to you about it. So I did. I went straight to the State Department and said, okay, tell me what's going on here. I did the first multiracial sporting event in the history of South Africa on my terms. There was a list of 20 things that I started. Are y'all clapping? I keep hearing this.
We gotta clap for those gems because we don't want the audience to not hear that
Oh, okay. All right.
legendary. We want to make sure they understand the stepping stones you did first,
Mm-hmm.
and which is just
Well,
remarkable.
I appreciate it because this was an experience also of a lifetime. Um, People have their own version of what they do. Gary Player was getting so much heat from here, and rightfully so. But we have our own issues here. We have our own apartheid in the United States, as well as just today and in my industry, in the golf industry. So I don't want to let that slide. However, when I went to South Africa, uh, with that, in my laundry list of things that I submitted, I said we would stay in the hotel of our choice. During that time, all Black people were staying out at the airport, the Holiday Inn Airport. I said we will stay where we want. We will go wherever we want. Black people will come through the same gates at the golf tournament as whites. They would sit in the same seats as whites. And everything that is afforded to your public audience will be afforded to my people. And the only thing, and use the same restrooms because everything was black and white, and use the same restrooms. And then the only thing that they turned down, and I said, and I want all Black people to come free. And they said, oh no, that would be discriminatory. I said, oh really? So I said, okay. So they agreed to everything that I asked, and that's how we got to South Africa. And then one of the former ambassadors, Beverly Carter, was at the State Department. So I had to go for a briefing, right? So I go to the State Department for my briefing, and here are two white men walked in the room. I'm sitting there for my briefing. They walked in, and one of them just stood up in the floor, put his foot in the chair, and said, okay, so you're going to South Africa. And I said, and might I ask, who are you? They said, "Oh, we're in here to brief you." I said, "No, you're not going to brief me. I want Black people to brief me, and I want people from South Africa to brief me." So they looked at me and they said, "Well, this is our job." I said, "I'm sorry. You're not qualified to brief me. You read the same books that I've read." And so Beverly Carter, thank God for him, was the former ambassador, and I forget his title at the State Department. He called me the next day because I walked out. He said, "Thank God for you, my sister." He said, "I will have the people that you want to brief you." So, even though they had agreed to my list, my laundry list of what we would and would not do, it still was in my face that here two disrespectful white men who were going to supposedly brief me. I said, "No, that ain't happening."
Nah.
Miss
But it
Rose,
was mm,
Miss Rose, you have a new name from me to you now. You know Clarence Avant, the Black Godfather.
yeah. I just somebody just told me to look at that. You know what? Um,
You
well,
are now,
Jonathan is going to help me because I'm so non-techie. But I looked at that.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you are now, from me to you, you are now the Black Godmother. Uh, because I'll tell you what, you have a wealth of information that a lot of us did not know, and I can't wait to read your book. I know you got a book somewhere.
I'm working on it. I'm telling you, that's what you see. You all know about this book, The Art of
Mm-hmm.
the Deal Golf. You know about
Yes.
this one. I wrote this book, and then another book that you know what the PGA is saying that the first golfers cookbook was done by these the white wives. Well, here is the first golfers cookbook. I published this book in when was it? 19. When did I do this, Jonathan? See this golf book right here?
Yes.
This is called the Golfers Cookbook. I
Oh wow.
published this. We self-published this with my students. And do you know one of my Black brothers challenged me to say, and he's a golfer. He said, "Oh, you didn't do the first." I was being inducted into the Black Golf Hall of Fame. So they were
Mm-hmm.
doing their fact check, I guess. And I'm not going to call his name because he's a nice guy and all y'all know him. And he said, "But Rose, you didn't do the first golfer's cookbook." I said, "No, because my students did this." And on the back of this book, let's see if I hold it right. You will see the president's wife, President Ford's wife. You will see all of these women. These are all women, wives of the PGA players that I
Mm.
personally took to the White House as my guest.
Yes, ma'am.
President
Yes,
Wow.
said,
ma'am.
"Bring whoever you want." He
Can I
said, "Bring whoever you want."
can I
And
title
then
your
later
next
on,
book?
he came out. But we have to do our own homework. And when somebody
Mm.
tells you something, if it's incorrect, then yes, call them out on it. But if you don't know your history, so you know what I had to do with this brother?
Mm.
I went to
Freedom.
the San Francisco, no, the San Francisco Chronicle fortunately had an article on me during that year with that book in it. So I sent it to him. I ain't heard a word since. But we have to support each other. You know, you don't have to like me, which a lot of people I don't think they do, but that's not my problem. God loves me, and that's the only person that matters right now. And Jonathan likes me too, so he's helping me. And I hope y'all will like me after I get off of the show.
Oh
Let
no,
me
we good.
But
We love you.
let me title
yeah,
your
this
next.
is
Can I title your next book?
title me.
Title your next book.
Oh yeah, I'd love to have it. Yeah,
The
what's the title? I'm gonna write it down.
the title is The Illusion of Inclusion.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Nice.
I'm writing that down. You know, your uncle's book. There's I don't know whether they didn't call my name in the book, but you remember when Charlie had the hole in one and
Yes,
and the insurance company didn't want to pay him off. Well,
yes.
guess who got him his money?
You?
I
Uh-oh.
went to court. I did the
Wow.
deposition for him
Come on.
because what what they did was when you post. See, I've been producing and directing for. I did 24 of them around the country, and when you post up a sign, you all know this because you're in the business. When you post a sign to say if you have a hole in one, this is what you're going to win. It
Right.
doesn't say,
Mm,
oh, if you do it Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, or if you do it on Sunday or whatever day. Well, when Charlie had his hole in one, the insurance company, I forget who was it, but Johnny Mathis, who's a very dear friend of mine, Johnny Mathis was hosting that tournament, the first and only one he ever did. Johnny, I don't know whether you all know, he's an excellent golfer,
mm,
but they made such a big deal out of not wanting to pay Charlie that Johnny Mathis said this is the end of this. So he's a good brother. He never loaned his name to the PGA again because of what
mm,
they did. Now that's not in the book. There's a lot of things that people don't know, but there's a lot that we have to go through to stand up for who we are. And when you stand up for who you are, it does not always fare well with you or your people around you because more of my people have complained about me than the white people. That's
mm.
because they don't know me and they think I talk too much, I talk too loud. Well, my dad told me I have a voice and God gave it to me and I should use it. So one good thing, I do public speaking and I do leadership development, diversity and inclusion. That's what I'm doing these days. And I do workshops, seminars for peer level executives like
Mm.
you, three, to talk to people not about becoming professional golfers, but I talk to corporate people about why you need golf in your portfolio, the importance of it, and how you use it, including how you dress. We have to be
Mm.
very careful when we go on the golf course because we're scrutinized all the time. And you don't have to be a low handicap golfer to be able to use the game in a professional manner to get through the door that you want to get through. You just have to know the rules and the etiquette of the game. If you know
Mm-hmm.
the rules and the etiquette, you respect it. And if the ladies don't come out there with Daisy Dukes on, and if the men don't come out there with the chains around their neck and the hats on backwards, I mean, corporate America looks at us differently. You all know that. So we have to play the same roles that they play, but only play them better. So I've been very blessed. That's why I wrote the book, The Art of the Deal Golf Access to Success. It's all about how to use the game, um, and why it's so important. The other thing that a lot of our people don't know is how important it is for our young people to learn how to play golf to earn a full 4-year ride to college.
Come on.
That is critically
Huge.
important.
Preach.
Huge.
Particularly, we know how much it costs for them to go to school these days when you're talking 60 and 70 grand. And if they could get involved in the game of golf, I always tell them, they say, Rose, you're very prejudiced. You don't want us to play soccer. I said, well, are you looking to become a professional soccer player? They said, no. I said, but then learn how to play golf so you can parlay that into 4 years
A
of college.
thousand.
You
True.
have a GPA and a good game, they are still looking for, and I'm talking about your Ivy League schools. They are looking for Black boys and girls to put on their golf teams so that you know why? They can continue to qualify for that subsidy that they get. People think
That's
that's
right.
Mm.
over. That ain't over.
Mm.
I lobbied for Title IX. I'm still upset about what they haven't done for Title IX. But I was talking to a young man, a family friend the other day, and he's 20, and he's at the University of Maryland. And all he was going on and on about how much he enjoys soccer. And I said, well, what do you want to be He said, well, political scientists, political science is something else. Political science, and he wants to be a lobbyist. I said, why are you wasting your time playing soccer? Just having fun? You need to get into golf, because if you're going to be a lobbyist, you better have a golf club in your hand. I live in the lobbying city. I was a lobbyist for a minute. I was a lobbyist. They asked me because, they know me, they know what I was doing. But we have to educate our young people. These are the tools that we need. You don't have to ever practice law, but a law degree is what you need if you want to be a lobbyist. You got to understand the rules and regulations.
Mm.
And golf, guess what? Every head of state plays this game. Nobody said they played it well. Bill Clinton is an exception. My friend Gerald Ford, he wasn't a good golfer, but he was one of the best people to support what I was doing and what other people were doing. He came to my tournament. I invited him. He embraced my family. My grandmother rode on the cart with him, and she was calling the golf cart the field. Oh, this is a pretty field. I said, oh, Lord, Grandma, don't call it a field. It's a golf course. Well, see, I'm a country girl. We grew up in the country. She said, this is a nice field. I said, no, 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 darling. When the president comes over here, which he did, he came over and got in the cart with her and shook hands and everything. I said, tell him you like the golf course. So she laughed and she says, okay. When he came over, she said, Mr. President, my granddaughter. She said, this is a field to me, but she told me to tell you it was a nice golf course. So whatever you two want to call it. And he loved her from that day on. So I can call it whatever I want to call it too.
That's right.
But
That's
I'm
right.
very proud of the Olympic achievement and some of the other things that I have been fortunate enough to do, and which is the reason why when I went through a major transition in my life, I decided that I needed to do something for me that I knew a lot about, that I didn't have to go back to the drawing board. So that's how the grass ceiling was founded in 1995. And that's how I got involved in training adults and corporate America, corporate people, particularly Black and white people. And people make a mistake. They say, oh, it's the glass. I said, no, we don't have any barriers. It's grass. And the reason that I came up with that name is you all are in the golf business, and you're golfers. You might not be in the golf business, but you're golfers. So that there are, I can't count them all now, the different types of grass, from Kentucky, from blue to Georgia to rye, you name it. And there are even more. And each time, and I thought about this for a long time before naming this, each time, if you're a golfer, when you take a shot and you take that divot, you can take that divot, put a little sand in there, put that divot back in the hole. The next day, you don't even know that it was out. Okay. So I'm saying, I looked at that, and there's Michael. I see Michael. This Michael right up there. And Catherine Crosby. You all know that lady, Catherine Crosby. I served on her board for 10 years at
Oh,
the
wow.
20 years. I'm sorry, 20 years I was on the board of the Crosby Invitational.
Greensboro.
And I brought Michael to the tournament for them. I was lobbying to get more people in.
You were
In Bermuda.
in Greensboro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was in Winston-Salem,
Bermuda
right
Run.
outside of Greensboro at Bermuda Run.
Right.
I did that for 20 years. I was the only Black woman on the board and only one other Black person on the board. But I met Catherine Crosby through Dolores Hope. Dolores Hope was one of my dearest best friends, a wonderful, wonderful woman. She came to my tournaments, she and Bob, all the time. And she called me one day and said, Rose, I need you to help Catherine. I said, help Catherine do what? She said, they're giving her a really bad time about the tournament at Pebble Beach because she wants all of Bing's friends to remain at the tournament site because that's when Bing died. AT&T came in, took over the tournament as
Mm.
sponsors, and what they wanted was to put out all of Bing's old friends who had made the tournament. So Catherine said, no, they're going to be here until they want to leave. And then what they did, which is often what happens, Nathaniel Crosby, who was only 17 years old at the time, her son, they made him uh, the tournament director or some such title they gave him, which is the same thing they do with us today, give you a title so they can take charge. And then there became a big riff. So Catherine said, well, I'm going to talk to my friends, to Bing's friends. And Bud Giles, who lived on the 18th fairway at Pebble Beach, was one of Bing's good friends. And Bud Giles and a couple of other guys owned Bermuda Run. Guess where? Down in
Mm.
Winston-Salem. They got so much money down there, they buried in the ground. So, so they said, you don't have to worry, Catherine. We're going to move the tournament. Then, if you all look back and at the newspapers, oh, they talked about her terrible. She didn't know what she was doing. It was going to be a failure. And that's when Dolores Hope called me and said, I need you to help Catherine. And
Mm.
I've been a very dear friend of Catherine's ever since. I served on that board down there for 20 years and we built the tournament. And guess what? Every year they gave away millions of dollars. I played in that tournament every year with one of the Sara Lee corporate sponsors. And he and I made over a $500,000 during the
Mm.
time that I was playing with him. But we were amateurs. We're amateurs. But what we did with the money was the money that you won, you designated it to you, whatever your favorite charity was anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, in the US. So my charity was able to benefit from that. Bill Caldwell was my partner's name um, for 20 years. He was able to help a lot of HBCUs. He's a white guy with Sara Lee, but became one of my very best friends. And so these things that I know that work, these things that I know that we can
Hmm.
do, is what
Reminiscent.
I would like to help people to do today. Come on, guys. It's not rocket scientist, but I was asking Tricia, I think I asked you when I first talked to you, do you
Mm-hmm.
know any other women of color who is doing or have done what I've done? I'd like to help people to say, this is the way you do this.
Not to the level
This
that
is
you
what
did.
corporate America is still looking for.
Yeah. Not to the level of
Well,
what you did, Rose.
we need to bring our people to the level of business in the game. That's what we need to
Mm.
do. That's what we need to do. And that's what I would really like to do that. I should not be the only woman of color who's been a delegate to the United States Olympics.
Mm.
Lisa Delpy at George Washington University should not be using my program to make millions of dollars for that school when the HBCUs are suffering.
Mm.
They This is how they get paid. But you know what? I was an adjunct professor at Howard University in the School of Business. My
Beautiful.
syllabus they use, they have a golf tournament. Do you think they ever invited me to the golf tournament? I don't think so.
Mm.
But now I'm glad that their golf program is doing well. I haven't met the coach up there, but the coach at I can't think of his name right now, but he was also a student with Katana Starks. He was one of Katana Stark's students. I knew her well when she was coaching.
Mm.
She brought me in to speak to them. She and I were friends. I was so sorry when she passed away. I didn't know she passed away a year and a half ago. But Katana was way ahead of her time too. And they didn't give her, I mean, the movie that was made up from the um, what's the name of it? Up from the roots, up from the ground. You all know that movie? They made a movie about Katana that Kataji, what's her name? Kataji? Taraji Henson starred in it.
Mm.
You all should see that. That movie is a true story. I went down
Oh wow.
there for her a couple of times and spoke. Everybody needs to look at it. And you know what happened? There's a white guy that I know, he's an investment banker. He did that work. He could not
Mm.
get the PGA or the LPGA to sponsor, to help do anything to promote it. I
Mm.
happened to be at the PGA show one year when they came in with the movie to show it in the auditorium. You know what happened? This is why I don't get no work, y'all, because they, but I'm in the audience and I'm sitting there, and all the white guys, the president of the PGA, all of them, they all come in, they stand up on stage. Ernie Ellison, he ain't white, he's black. He all them up on stage talking about the movie. Guess what they did? As soon as they cut the lights down, all of them left the room.
Mm.
All of them. Just no respect for
Oh
us and
wow.
what we do. Every last one of them left the room, and not one of them. I mean, you ask what's his name? I should have looked this stuff up and had his name, but he's in New York, and I talk to him often. But there she is. Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
good movie. I mean, I talk to him often, but we need to show our young people that should be a requirement at every HBCU and every golf program. This is no joke. That's real. She flew all over her own people. I mean, I was down there, so I was there. So I know what she went through, and I know how they really didn't support her. The AD didn't support her. So, but she, we have to do what we had to do. But
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was one of her golf students. The head golf coach at Howard University now. What's his name? Terry
The head guy. Oh, oh
Sam
yeah.
Perrier.
Sam.
Sam for you.
Sam. And I've called and left a message for him, but I haven't heard from him. I just wanted to call and introduce myself and say I'm glad you're there. They're doing a great job. Uh, and I want to know why. I understand that the president of Howard University, somebody told me this a couple of weeks ago, Jonathan, that the president of Howard University is a member at my club. So why aren't your golf team out there practicing when the University of Maryland and the other kids are out there practicing? He's a
Mm.
member. But I said, well, how long has he been there? I've been there since the doors opened because I helped to market and sell
Oh
memberships
wow. Well,
for
there
the
we got.
TPC at
We might
Abernathy.
have a bridge. Trish, use that bridge.
You already know. Right after
Yeah.
this call.
Yeah. We
Oh,
might have.
okay.
We might have a bridge. We might have a
Y'all coming
bridge.
up here to play some golf? Well, I tell you, Tim Fincham, let me tell you about Tim Fincham was not the commissioner when I met him. Tim Fincham was on Pennsylvania Avenue. He was the marketing director for the TPC here in Potomac. That's their flagship course. I went to Tim Fincham unsolicited and said, I would like to help to get people of color into this club. Now, this is before there was any bricks or mortar. All
Right.
I had was the blueprints in my hand. The most difficult thing I ever experienced was trying to get my people to take a membership in this club. And I could have gotten them in back then for $7,000. Now,
Ooh.
and what happened, I was in Japan, and Tim Fincham called me and said, Rose, I need to get those spots back. He gave me 20 spots to sell. I'd already sold 5, but I'm in Japan working. And my assistant called me and said, Tim Fincham said it's urgent. He needs to talk to you. He called me and said he needed the rest of the slots back because they weren't doing as well as they thought that they were going to do. And I said, well, I haven't had them but 30 days. So when I got back in the country, I went to meet him. We had an agreement. They were to pay me X amount of dollars, commission on what I sold. The first check they sent me was ridiculous. I cut it up, put it in an envelope, sent it back to them. Then they sent another check, And I said, what in the world is this? This is not what we agreed. He said, well, we just didn't do as well as we thought. I said, well, I tell you what, you keep the money, I'll take a membership. And he said,
Mm,
oh, that's no problem. So not a Lee Elder membership because he already had access to everything.
yeah.
My membership was under Rose Elder and Associates. And I had that membership with no problems for um, over 20 some years. You know, the club wasn't built when I was selling these things. So the club wasn't even built. Um, as soon as my ex remarried, they changed the status of my membership. While it had nothing to do with him.
Mm,
So this industry is still very, very tough because we don't have enough of us speaking out. Now we're hosting the Wells Fargo tournament at TPC next month. And guess what? I went to them and I said, you know what? I would really love to do an Art of the Deal workshop seminar for you guys. I'm a member at the club. Uh, this is a couple of years before. I said, oh, yeah, we'd like to talk to you about it. Well, I've been talking to them about it for a couple of years. You know what they did? They hired a white woman called Women on Course. You all have probably seen that program. I helped that woman to start her program. She's
mm,
not a member at my club. They
mm.
hired her to come in to do the Executive Women's Day.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we don't have enough of us who understand. I mean, that's just but Wells Fargo, look who the chairman of the board is. Look who the PGA is. That's the same guy that gave Donald Trump all of his money for his golf courses. Those are the same people who said that they can't find. The reason we don't have, what are that? It's printed. You all can look that up 2 years ago. Said the reason we don't have any more minorities is because we can't find them. That's what he said.
Well, we changing the game on
So,
that. We're changing
I,
that. We got to build a pipeline.
well, you know, they have to know that you want to change the game. They have to know that you guys are out there and your voice carries around this country and around the globe. I want your program to be in South Africa. I have a big footprint there. I have a South African family. And,
Nice.
you know, we just need to know that we are we're in this game and they can't move us out of the game. That's what they need to know. But when you have people like Leland Hardy, who is identifying talent like this young Amari that's playing today and supporting these young people, we need to know about them. We all need to support them. We all need to be calling out their names.
Yes.
Definitely.
But
So,
I'm
Rose.
just excited that you all allow me to talk because too many people don't want me to talk.
I
No,
know
no.
that.
She
Yes.
got a question.
So, Rose, I just, I know, we would try to prepare, but it just came to
Okay.
my thought. So we asked the HBCUs what would be the top three things that they need for their golf program, right? So it's a little bit of like that same thing. So if you could see
Uh-huh.
or have the top three things
Uh-huh.
that you would love to see, you know, while, now, from everything that you've gone through, everything that you've come through, everything that you're still continuing to do, what are three things that you would just love to see of us in this game or more of?
Well, first, I think the HBCUs need proper funding.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
The golf programs need comparable, proper funding. You can't go from Washington, D.C. to um, North Carolina all the time on the bus. You got to fly sometime. You have to have the proper equipment. You have to hold the golf industry, and I'm talking about the whole industry. You have to hold the manufacturers and the industry accountable for providing comparable equipment to them because they are just as good or better representatives if they had the best. if they
Yes.
had the opportunity. So, but funding, a lot of them don't have our, I don't know what's going on with a lot of them now, but I know funding is a major thing. The other thing is training. You can't have the basketball coach coaching golf. It
Mm,
just doesn't work. You have to have someone who is full time, committed, and well trained. You can't have somebody, oh, well, he's a scratch golfer. I was at two one time, but I don't teach people hands on. I have someone who is certified as a professional golfer to work with me to teach them, because you don't want anybody teaching you their bad habits. You want someone to look at you. So I would say the top three things is funding, um, proper training facilities, and the equipment. I know they need much more than that, but they also need to understand how to use the games themselves, because all these golfers are not going to make it to the LPGA or the PGA.
mm, true.
They're just not. That's
Yes.
that's reality. That's just like baseball, basketball, and football. We got 1% that's going to do that. But with the proper training and coaching, things have changed so much now. I mean, they need to know proper nutrition. They need to know the things that they need to do for bodybuilding, mind building. It's
Mm,
not an easy road out there. It's not easy out there on that road by yourself. When you look at the difference in the tours, you look at the Asians that are on the tour. If you all remember, particularly the LPGA tour, when those young ladies came over, their dads came with them. They stayed in the same
mm,
room, they caddied for them. They had that unit, so they had that support that they needed. And the rest is history. They become comfortable, they become familiar with the territory and stars. We need to provide the same thing for our young people. I've had a lot of calls from people saying, Rose, you need to talk to this person and that person at this HBCU. They don't call me. None of the HBCUs, with the exception of Katana Starks when she was in Tennessee, none of them. They know I'm here.
And we're
But,
gonna work
like
on
I
that.
said, I reached out once.
We're gonna
Pardon?
yeah,
work on it.
we
We're
gonna
gonna
work
work
on
on
that
that.
though. We're gonna because
Well,
wealth of knowledge needs to be
Yes.
shared, and we just got we have to keep that legacy and that knowledge alive. You have said more in this past hour about the golf business than all of our guests put together for a year, and that's just keeping it 100.
oh my
No one's
goodness.
ever broken.
Oh,
No one's ever
gee.
broken down that each golfer or the golf industry itself or a golf tournament has 126 jobs that needs to be
Mm,
filled. That
that's
broke it
big.
down to its simplest compound.
Oh, it's
You
more
got,
than that now.
I believe it, but the way you made it sound
Yeah.
so simple, no one's ever really put it in
Oh,
that
well,
phrase or thought because no one's really about that business or know the business enough to think of stuff like that. And like you said, only 1-2% may go to the big time, the tour, just like basketball or football. But there's hundreds and hundreds of positions that still can be filled and still can avert influence. So like I said,
Yes.
just this hour and a half of you being
And guess
on.
what? They could have a good time doing it.
Come on, it's
Exactly.
nice out.
You
It's
got
nice out
You
there.
mean I've been
Let's get
talking that long? Oh my goodness.
it's nice out there.
We've been
So
loving it.
we
We've
ain't
been
gonna. Yeah,
loving
we've been
it.
loving. Trust me, we've been all ears. We definitely gonna have you back if you can spare some time in the future. Anything you need to do, or just want to get off. We might just do a whole book session if you got time, and just go over all your books and why and how. Because the knowledge you've given us, we've had D&I people on, coaches on, influencers on, players on, but no one specifically with your talents has been on the show to explain the business side of golf. Not one person.
doubt.
And
No
and
doubt.
we've all just tonight listening to you
Really?
learned I, it's just no
Rose, I
one out
told
there
you.
like you. It's
I
no
told
one
you.
out there like you. It's no one out, and I don't know why people are not reaching out to you and getting this knowledge. And it takes a village, but
Well,
we
you know
haven't had
why.
a guest like you.
No.
Sif, I'm
You
gonna
know
let you
why.
do some
Well,
parting words, and then Trish.
you know why, Manny. The thing is, I think Rose and I share the same temperament. You know, I don't know why I haven't been kicked off the show as of yet because this is episode what 30, 37,
34.
34. I'm sorry, episode 34. You see, Rose, we share the same temperament, and
Oh,
so I believe sometimes our people believe white ice is colder, and so what tends to happen, I've talked about this for 34 episodes, and Manny and Trish can attest to that. I always talk about the infrastructure piece. And the infrastructure piece for me is the
mm-hmm,
diversity and inclusion. So if uh, the people who are put in those positions, and I call them advocacy positions, if you're not willing to risk
mm-hmm,
your job and your livelihood, you don't need to be in that position. If you're worried about the next day, if I'm going to have a job, you don't need to be in that position. Those people who are put in those
mm-hmm,
diversity, inclusion, and equity positions, if they don't if they don't rattle the fence or rattle the bushes, then we remain constant. And so that's what I see in terms from an infrastructure position, people being put in place to go along to get along, and then that what that does it hurts the whole lineage.
mm-hmm.
Love it.
Love it. Thank you,
Yes,
Trish. I'm gonna let you.
it
Trish. I'm
does.
gonna.
That that's a problem.
So Rose, you said a lot, and we said the team, the podcast, we want you back on. We definitely want you back on because there's so much more to be told and so much to hear. We had a gentleman, Mr. Rodney. What's Rodney's last name? Rodney Lanthern. Look here, we're
Mhm.
gonna bring you on with
I
Rodney
know
Lanthern.
Rodney Lathan. Rodney Lathan came through my program.
Yes,
That's
he
what he
did.
said. He has
Yes,
nothing. That's what he
he
said.
Yeah, he did.
he
What's
said
he
you
He's
were.
on
doing
the
these
chat.
days?
Look.
He's on the chat right now, but
Uh,
he just can't chat with us. But he's sending me
Oh,
instant messages
but
from
we gonna bring
Facebook.
him
But
on.
he's
Yeah.
listening right now. He's listening
hmm
right now.
But
So
I
we'll
said
get
we're
hey
his
gonna bring
Rodney,
him.
information.
I hope you're doing well.
How can I
We'll
get
Yeah,
get
I
in
his.
the
know
program?
I know Rodney well. I knew him when he was in school. I used to send him everything, toothpaste, money, everything.
That's
I
right.
know
That's
Love
all
it.
right.
those young men, and they were great young men, and I hope that they're using the game well and wise. I've just been enjoying this. I'm to be able to speak extemporaneously to you all, not
Mm.
from a script,
hmm
has been easy for me because that's the kind of person, that's the kind of speaker I am. But to have the opportunity uh, to share with you and for you all to be so receptive and allow me to be in your space is really important to me because this doesn't happen with me. Doesn't happen with me. You said you wanted to invite me back. Anytime you all want me to come back, I would be delighted. I think that there's some things uh, that you all could do collectively that would make a huge difference in the golf industry. A huge difference. I won't discuss it in the public forum right now, but just listening to you guys, um, I think that there are some things that uh, Bill Russell came to 20 consecutive tournaments of mine.
Mm.
Wow.
Unfortunately, Bill's not really, really well right now, but Bill is a dear friend. Um, People don't understand him, and he explained to me why they didn't understand me. He said, because I don't deal with bullshit and you don't either.
That's right. Let's
So
get that up.
Bill and I have
Okay.
been friends for a long time. Yeah. But he asked me, he said, Rose, you did 24 years. You've got to do one more event. The most successful tournament we had was when my board decided to remove my spouse's name and put my name at the head of the tournament. It was two of the most successful events we'd had in all the 24 years.
Mm.
When Michael's father died, my event was the first appearance that he made. I wish you guys could see what happened during that time. The press was never interested in what I was doing with these black kids. They just weren't interested. When Michael's father died and he came to the tournament, um, he asked me, "Hey, Rose, who's going to be there?" And I said, "Your same friends." I named them: Russell, Night Train Lane, and uh, Jim Thorpe, all of them. Your buddies are going to be there and you'll be safe. So when he came, the young people that came to my tournament, I bought 5 HBCUs to my tournament for 20 years. 5 schools. I sponsored them myself.
Mm.
We brought in 8 young people from each one of the HBCUs, not to play golf, not to play tennis, but to work. They worked in registration, transportation, legal, finance. All of these things are jobs.
Yeah.
So I sent them to the airport to pick up Michael. We had it, I had a pack. I won't tell anybody you're coming. And these 4 young men went to Dallas Airport. We went on the tarmac. I got everything approved. And, because of what I had been exposed to around the world, I knew we could drive those cars right on the tarmac to meet Michael because he flew in his private plane. These kids went. We took our ID off of the cars because I had the same thing that you all see at the PGA. That's how I was trained to do tournaments. I was trained by Ed Carter and Vern Peake. Because back in the day, they had tournament directors just like me, these 2 white guys, and I understudied under them. So we picked up Michael, brought him to the hotel incognito. We went around to the back in the service entrance. He was in his room, unpacked, he and Juanita. He had played 9 holes before the world knew that he was here. And then the very next day, every media from around the world was there. And guess who they had to deal with? My young black students.
Nice.
And Michael said, "Rose, what do you want me to do?" I said, I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Michael Jordan. He said, "Look," and Bill Russell. Michael said, "What do you want me to do?" I said, "All I want you to do is whatever you want to say, but I want all of my celebrities. I want Bill Russell and Catherine Crosby and Night Train Lane and everybody to be there." He said, "That's what I would want." And that's how that press conference went. But it was the young people who directed it. And I said, "You know what? And this is where we're going." Battery's getting low, it said.
And if y'all go
So
to
that's what he did.
yeah. And if y'all go to the link,
Beautiful.
if y'all go to the link that we put out there, you can see that interview where Michael Jordan spoke on the podcast on our page. If you go there, there's a link, the first link. You can go there and see exactly what Rose Harper is speaking of.
Yeah, I watched it myself just because I was amazed at it. All right, Miss Harper, we ain't gonna keep you much longer. We see batteries is getting low,
Oh, okay.
but we've been blessed to have you
Yeah.
this hour and a half, and I hope we'll be
Yeah, is
blessed
that
to
my
have.
battery or your battery?
Nah, that's y'all
Yeah.
battery.
Well, you all call me anytime. I'd be delighted.
Yes.
Thank
Now,
you so
Rose.
I'm
so much.
excited to tell you something that I think you all could do.
Okay. And
Very
Rose,
nice.
now what you said, now what we want to do, what I want to do personally, if I could, if there's any way that I can be that person to help you continue to do that, or that 25th, anniversary one for you, let's talk and let's figure it out.
We can do that.
All
We can
right.
do that. I'll be glad to be a consultant
That's right. That's right.
for that.
Well,
Yeah.
all right, Miss Harper. I think that's it for today, but Tricia's gonna stay in touch with you. We was just so honored to have you today. To
Yes.
be totally honest, like I said before, we've never ever had a guest with your acumen and your business knowledge about this golf and the history and facts. I'm talking about uh charming presidents of the world to presidents of the United States to presidents over continents. This is huge. I don't think we have another person in the works like you. And you're gonna have to mentor somebody because we only got you, and there's no one that has done what you have done, and we
Mhm.
so desperately need what you have. And on that
Absolutely.
note, thank you guys for listening. We are out. We will see you next week every Wednesday.